Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Weather or Not. I'm your host, Jimmy Wendolek, joined by our forecaster this week, Brian Michigan. So, Brian, it's been a warm start to the month of October. Do you expect these conditions to continue? And can we expect any wet weather in the near future?
We sure can, Jimmy. This upcoming weekend looks to be rather unsettled, with rain showers moving their way across the state. Beyond that, it looks like the warm trend of temperatures is expected to continue, but I'll have more on that coming up in my extended forecast.
I'm excited to hear those details coming up in the extended forecast. But first, let's jump into nature in the news. For this week's show, I have a story about a bird species that was recently declared extinct. What about you, Brian?
For this week's show, I'll be doing a story on a certain parasite which gives plants a zombie-like nature.
Sounds interesting. With that being said, let's go straight into nature in the news. Ivory-billed woodpeckers once soared through the skies of the southeastern United States, but last week federal officials declared the bird and 22 other species extinct. The extinctions include 11 birds, 8 different freshwater mussels, 2 fish, a bat, and a plant. However, no animal of the group was more heavily searched for than the woodpecker. The last confirmed sighting came in 1944, but scientists and birders continued to look for decades. In 2004, a kayaker and 2 birders believed they spotted an ivory-bill, but the bird flew off before any definitive pictures could be taken. The men were certain of what they saw, but scientists were skeptical. Debate raged in the scientific community and sparked several unsuccessful searches for the bird. The debate was put to rest recently, however, as the Fish and Wildlife Service filed a report marking the bird as extinct. Experts are now worried that without greater conservation efforts, more creatures could go extinct in the near future.
Plants have always been known to be some of the most simplest forms of life we see on the surface of our planet. However, the discovery of a certain parasite is giving plant species a zombie-like nature. Scientists recently identified the effects of the parasite, which causes a disease called aster yellows. This disease is causing plants to appear a more yellowish color, as well as halt the plant's reproduction. This parasite gives plants the zombie-like nature because it can cause plants to live much longer than plants that are unaffected. Additionally, this parasite and disease are easily able to spread when insects eat the affected plants, ingest the parasite, and then spread the parasite to a new host. Unfortunately, there are more serious consequences of these parasites. They have the ability to cause diseases to plants like carrots and even make them deformed or dangerous to eat. It just goes to show that as we approach the spooky season of Halloween, even Mother Nature is doing her best to participate.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Michigan here for your Central Pennsylvania forecast. We're going to be breaking down a pretty wet and unsettled weekend ahead here in Pennsylvania. We're going to kick things off with Friday. Out to our west, we have some showers and storms that's going to be generally working their way eastward as we head into early parts of this weekend. It's a big swath of rain too, extending from Wisconsin all the way down into parts of Virginia. That's going to be generally making their way in our direction. Out ahead of the storm system, cloudy skies, all thanks to that onshore flow that looks to be in play for much of the weekend. Saturday is when those rain showers could be heavy at times here in State College. It looks to be a pretty messy day on Saturday, so unfortunately if you have any plans for Parents Weekend, if you want to go pumpkin picking or do any of that sort, you're going to probably want to wait until Sunday or maybe even get them done before the evening on Friday. So we take a look at Sunday. Showers move to our east, and it looks to be generally showery conditions for the Atlantic coastline. As you can see, that low pressure system crawling its way north and east. That onshore flow is still prevalent, so unfortunately after the rain departs here in State College, it looks to be still a little bit cloudy throughout much of the day on Sunday. For your Friday, what can we expect? 71 degrees and mostly cloudy skies here in State College. Friday night is when those showers and storms could be knocking on the doorstep here in State College with a low of 60. So if you have any plans for Saturday, make sure you probably get them done on Friday afternoon. Into Saturday, looks to be the messiest day of the weekend with a high of 62 and those showers mainly in play throughout much of the state on Saturday. Saturday night is when those storms could depart a little bit throughout much of the western and central portion of the state, becoming more scattered in nature. And as we head into Sunday, luckily looks to dry out for your Sunday, but overcast skies still in play with a high of 66. Don't go anywhere, because up next we have student features from past 42 students.
Planting season is right around the corner here in Pennsylvania, so you can expect a bunch of this equipment right here going out into the fields and working for the next couple of weeks. Farming is a lifestyle that has been passed down from generation to generation here in Pennsylvania since the colonial era. Every year, over 59,000 farms from every county of the Commonwealth contribute over $130 billion to the state's economy, where 1 out of every 10 jobs is supported through agriculture. Although an economic powerhouse, agriculture accounts for roughly 9% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. To meet the Paris Climate Agreement's goal of limiting the rise in global temperatures to 2 degrees Celsius, the U.S. may need to sequester or trap and store 15 gigatons of CO2 each year by 2100, the equivalent of the weight of 10,000 U.S. aircraft carriers. Agricultural soils could provide up to a third of that benchmark, but only if the soil is tended to properly. Reducing tillage is one of the many efficient farming practices that helps soils sequester carbon. Tilling is done before each planting season to loosen up the soil to more easily plant seeds. But tilling also disables the soil's ability to trap and store carbon. A small group of Pennsylvania farmers got together to form the Pennsylvania No-Till Alliance to promote these efficient practices across the state. With increasing fuel prices, labor scarcity, and market opportunities, local no-till farmers are promoting their practices to help other farmers run more efficient operations. With alliances like these, farmers are finding new ways to combat climate change. So the next time you see a farmer, thank them for their work in saving the planet. From the Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science, I'm Hunter Donahoe.
Sneezing, coughing, red itchy eyes, congestion, and a runny nose are all examples of common yearly allergies. Unfortunately, many atmospheric signs ahead seem to increase the amount and severity of these issues due to changes caused by global warming. In today's world, nearly 20 million Americans suffer from pollen allergies. The ever-changing climate has prolonged the growing season, resulting in more people suffering from allergies year-round. As humanity puts more carbon into our atmosphere, global warming continues to create consequences and damage Americans' health. When atmospheric carbon dioxide levels rise, scientists suggest that plants that produce allergenic pollen will begin to produce even more of it. Pollen allergies occur when a variety of plants release tiny pollen grains in the air to fertilize other plants. This occurs year-round depending on location, species, conditions, and other factors. Typically, trees start to produce pollen in the spring, grass peaks in the summer, and most weeds emit pollen throughout the fall. This all takes place during the growing season, which occurs from the last freeze in the spring to the first freeze in the fall. According to Climate Central, 83% of the 201 U.S. cities tested saw their freeze-freeze season lengthen as much as 2 weeks since 1970. As the climate warms, plants can move into new areas, exposing people to allergenic pollen, which they previously may not have encountered before. Asthma, which often occurs alongside pollen, has increased from 3.1% to 8.4% of the population. These rates are even higher among minorities, low-income households, and children. One study shows that as CO2 concentrations rise, ragweed pollen production more than doubles. Global warming's effects on temperatures, sea levels, weather conditions, and much more are starting to be seen globally. But climate change reveals how much more CO2 emissions are damaging many Americans' health in a way we don't directly see with just our eyes. From the Penn State Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science, I'm Nicholas Deemer.
The winter of 2020 to 2021 was one of the best winters in recent memory for winter recreation. In February, many places across the United States saw record cold. The Southern Plains had their coldest Arctic outbreak since December of 1989. The Northeast saw a major nor'easter impact a large swath of the region to start the month, dropping up to 3 feet of snow around the Poconos region. Across the northern United States, ponds and lakes saw their longest freezes in recent seasons, allowing for many forms of winter recreation, including ice fishing and ice skating, to proceed. Due to cold temperatures and additional snowstorms, a snowpack persisted across the region for the entire month. But in spite of the cold February, the eastern United States saw warmer than average temperatures in that winter as a whole. This trend has been steady in the United States since 1970. Every county in the United States has seen warmer winter seasons since then, particularly in the eastern United States, where winter is the fastest warming season east of the Rocky Mountains. Closer to home, in Philadelphia, the average temperature in winter has steadily climbed since 1960. Let's go back to the winter of 2019 to 2020. That winter, places accustomed to several feet of snow and very cold air were disappointed to see near record low levels of snowfall and well above average temperatures, with the eastern United States once again sticking out. Fans of winter recreation have seen their seasons shrink over the years. Snowfall has been impacted too. Even in years where the snowfall meets or exceeds the average seasonal snowfall, the warmer climate causes an acceleration of snowmelt. When it stops snowing, it's back to being anomalously warm, a trend that, without a global response, will only be amplified over the next several decades. From the Penn State Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Sciences, I'm Kevin Appleby.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Michigan here for your extended forecast, and as I previously mentioned, it looks to be a pretty wet and unsettled weekend here for State College. Friday looks to be the best day of the 3-day period with mostly cloudy skies and a temperature well above average this time of year, sitting at 71 degrees. So any weekend outdoor plans you have, probably get them done on Friday or even Sunday after the next storm system comes through. Temperatures for this weekend sitting above average, and as we head even into next week, here's the temperature outlook for next week. We're sitting very above normal here throughout much of the eastern half of the country, including us here in State College. And luckily, after this next storm system passes, the precipitation outlook looks to be below normal for us here in Pennsylvania. So any outdoor plans or any fall activities you have coming up in the next week looks to be a good shot of you getting them in for this upcoming week. As we take a look at our daily high temperatures compared to average this time of year, we look to stay well above normal for this time of year throughout much of next week. Maybe on Friday we get close to average, but generally it looks to be a dry and above average week here in State College. Can't rule out the chance for maybe a few showers on Tuesday, but generally that's going to be very spotty in nature. Looks to be very dry for us here for the next week. Don't go anywhere, because up next is your quiz answer.
Thanks, Brian. And now for our Weatherwiz Quiz answer. When was the last confirmed sighting of the ivory-billed woodpecker? A, 1944, B, 1975, C, 1997, or D, 2004? And the answer is A, 1944. It's crazy to think that the last time we saw one of these birds was during World War II.
It truly is crazy. It's also super sad to see such an amazing bird species gone. It really makes me think that if we don't do something, even more birds could be at risk of extinction.
You're right. We need to take greater steps, and thankfully, conservation efforts have improved over the last several years. Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Whether or Not. Hope you tune in next week. But until then, I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Brian. Have a great weekend.